I'm Charlotte Jones.
I'm Kim Ligon.
And welcome to another episode of The Soul of the Matter. Hello, I'm Charlotte Jones.
And I'm Kim Ligon.
And welcome to another episode of The Soul of the Matter,
where we discuss all things concerning the soul, the way we think, the way we live, and the way we behave.
And today we want to have a discussion or conversation about some things we as married people need to, sometimes we just gloss over it, but hopefully we can dig deep today and really bring up some things
that typically married couples go through.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
And joining us in that conversation are our husbands, Calvin
and Dwayne.
And we also have joining us Lisa and Thomas Shaw from Greater Works Ministries. So let's have a grown folks conversation, y'all. Y'all ready?
We're ready.
Okay. Ready. So let's start with marriage. When we first get married, we say our vows, better for worse, sickness and health, love and to cherish, right? So let's start with sickness and in health. So when sickness and in health, my husband and I was talking the other night, and we were like, it's not just between the two of us, sickness and in health, but it can be our family members or those connected to us. Like I had a brother who was sick, and when he was sick, my husband helped me take him to the doctors because it was getting overwhelming for one person. When his dad was sick, I stepped in, went down to his house, helped him. Eventually, we moved him in here for a while. And so for sickness and in health, it just doesn't mean the two of you. Anybody got any stories on going deeper on the sickness and in health piece?
Well, I can say that I lost two brothers to cancer. And in that time, my wife supported me as I had to make travels, while I had to spend time taking them back and forth to the doctor. She was very supportive, and that gave me the opportunity to not worry, to focus my attention on trying to, support my family members. So, and sickness and health means it means more deeper than just between me and my wife.
That's good. Yeah. You guys got anything to add to that?
I know before we got married, Kim's sister got sick, and she needed to go home and make plans, and so I watched the kids while she went and buried her sister. So I understand that.
Okay. So let's go a little deeper. The vow for better or for worse. Kim and I were talking about that. You want to tell them about the movie and stuff, for better or for worse? First of all, for better or for worse means we have to accept the bad results of the actions of the other party, as well as we have to accept the good of the other party, right? And so when does the good or the bad go too far?
Yeah. So we were talking about the movie Home for Jesus, and it's basically based on the story of the Bishop Eddie Long, the pastor out of Atlanta, Georgia, who had a huge congregation, millions and millions of dollars, and quite the scandal, actually. And so he was having extramarital affairs with young boys.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was just so interesting how they depicted the wife in the movie, and how she was just this ride or die, for her husband, trying to help him get back in the pulpit after all that scandal. And I did hear from members that went to that church to say that was not, it was a false depiction of the wife, that she was actually very weak and, very humble, soft-spoken woman. However, so that character didn't really speak to who she was in real life. But in the movie, it was just like, okay, as a Christian wife, is this what you're expected to do? So infidelity, period, whether it's homosexual or whatever, is, a sin. But then you have your vows. So what is enough?
Well, that one, that's a hard one. Infidelity is one thing, but when you're head of a church and you're actually going beyond, to me, that's just one step beyond. We're talking young boys head of clergy, head of a whole congregation of people. He should have stepped down
Sure.
and not even wanted to be up there. God will forgive you, however, you still have to represent yourself as a person of God. You know, like I said, if had it been a woman outside the church, okay, forgive her. He can, forgive that. I mean, she should, she could forgive that. But we're talking, like I said, a whole different thing.
Yeah,
here.
he was
That's-
grooming the young
Exactly.
boys
That's-
who
that's-
were
that's totally
members,
off the table.
children of the members of his
Right,
congregation.
that's a whole different
It-
thing.
yeah, and so it was quite sadistic.
That, to me, that's just stepping over the line.
So bad doesn't necessarily mean that you have to enable. If I'm head of a pastor, if I've got drug addiction problems, porn problems, or whatever, that is not something I believe your spouse is supposed to support in the sickness, or excuse me, in the better or for the worse. If that worse is going to tear the family apart, that needs to be investigated. The wife nor the husband should have to support that, because bad becomes bad for everyone if you try to cover that up. It needs to be addressed. There needs to be some accountability, and then there needs to be some actions taken to make sure that this does not continue to happen. If it does, then you may have to go back and see where the bad can be removed.
So for better or for worse, there are some deal breakers, right?
Deal breakers,
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
there are some things that a person can go, I mean, you're not going too far with this, right? I was with you, but now, I mean, this is too much. So,
This is too much.
I'm out of here, right?
Sure.
What do you think?
Well, I think as you were saying all that, it made me to think on Paul when Paul stated to follow me as I follow Christ.
Yes.
And so it doesn't matter who you are, what position you hold. Even if you are partners, if he's not following Christ or she's not following Christ, then you have an obligation and a choice. You're not, handicapped or hostage to whatever the situation is. You just go ahead, because Christ is first. And
Christ is
so
first.
therefore, when bad comes, and bad is really a situation where it's not honoring Christ, then you have to make your decision. Otherwise, you find yourself compromising. And so we all have to answer for what we do, regardless.
A lot of people, I think, get into marriages and then they think they are bound to this person for the rest of their life, no matter what they're doing. But there are some things where you can get out of the marriage.
Sure.
And I think this would be the situation in that movie
Mhm.
would definitely be one of those situations where, honey, I tried with you.
Yeah.
I gave you so much grace.
Mhm.
You still up in here doing what you want to do in the church. And
In
it's
the
not
church.
just about the church.
It's
Yeah.
not.
It's just about individuals, period, right?
In
So
marriage.
it's not just because he's a pastor,
Sure.
Yes.
but it's just because, I'm a human being
Mhm.
and I can only go so far with you and it ends right here.
Yeah.
I think it's
I
a
mean-
matter of broken trust.
Sure.
In a marriage, you have to have trust. And if you're in charge of if you're a teacher in teaching other people and morality issues, then when the trust is broken, very difficult to
Yeah.
retain that. And infidelity of that type is something that you really, really have to bear on, and yourself
Sure.
for the accountability, and that may cause a separation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she did
In the
file
movie?
for divorce in real life. So the real
Yeah, she
Mrs.
did.
Long, she
Yeah.
did file for divorce, and
Mhm.
Yeah,
she
right
stood in
for
front of
yourself.
her church and told them, "Yeah,
Can't-
I'm walking
can't
away
do
from
it."
this. You can't." Yeah. And it was really tearing her apart, like the lie and the scandal, and just and she tried,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like, no, I can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about bad,
Mhm.
we've been focusing on infidelity, but there's other types of bad.
Most
My
definitely.
bad might not be your bad,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
And so with that being an issue, people fall out because of bad financial situations.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that one, for example.
Or someone,
Is there something that's so bad that you would leave someone over a financial situation?
I mean, let's take for instance, if you have a gambling addiction
Okay.
and you're driving the family into poverty,
Okay.
and the person is not willing to address it because they're in denial about it, right? Then I think that's a situation where you may have to say, you're hurting this family in a financial way because of a appetite that you have. And if you're not willing to address that, I gotta save the family. You know, I gotta save the family. I think in our parents' generations, they just followed the man blindly. And there were no ways out for the women because most women at that time were homemakers. Well, women got a lot more choices now. I ain't taking that. You know, I'm out.
I'm out of here.
And so, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you have somebody, if you're going down, go down by yourself. Don't take us with you.
Right.
And so we have to learn today that we don't follow the head of the house if the head of the house is not leading in a manner that's going to benefit the family.
It's a good point. But is that a grounds for divorce, I wonder? Or is that just grounds for a really deep conversation with your spouse?
I think it's both. Start with the conversation, start with some action. Hey, honey, and don't be the type of person, well, every time I forgive you, you're good for about 3 months and you fall off the wagon. I give you 3 more months, you fall off the wagon. 3 more months, you fall off the wagon. We probably need to separate for a season because the Bible says we can separate for a season. Get that together, really get that together before I decide I'm going to come back.
Okay.
Right?
And that takes us to another topic.
Sure.
It's not necessarily on our thing, but it leads us to communication.
Sure.
So I think a lot of, and like I said in the beginning, a lot of times we gloss over conversations and we don't really dig deep and really talk things through with our partner. What do you think about that, babe? Well, I think it's really important that we can sit down as grown folks, have a conversation without screaming, yelling, and all of that, and just dig deep to what the issues are at hand.
Well, yeah, I think we definitely need to do that, and it's also it's because it really helps because for a simple reason, it really actually shows where you're at when it comes to dealing with conflict, and it really if you allow yourself, if you humble yourself, because some, you know, the way they deal with conflict is, you know, I'm getting you off of me. You know, and so when you're in a marriage and relationship and a partnership, now the other party may have been able to deal and talk through, communicate in their family, and you may do the opposite. But as a couple, you have to make sure that you're able to communicate because trying to get them off you or by you know wherever the dysfunctional type of communicating that doesn't work because in the end it always bites you.
Sure.
You know, and then you find yourself by yourself, you know, and you look back and take inventory and say, you know what, if I was able to do this in a functional, healthy way, we could still be together. And so communication is very important. It's not easy, but there's no excuse for you to say, well, this is not how I dealt with it. This is how I deal with it. Well, no, if it's not functional, if it's not moving you guys forward, then you need to open up, humble yourself, and sit down there. It may hurt, and most of the time it will hurt, especially if it's something that's new. But you deal, and then once you get through it, it's like a shot. You know, I'm always scared of needles. You know, and I try to avoid it. But if I avoid it, the consequences could be dying. You know, but so I take the shot, and after the shot, so I said, well, that wasn't that bad. You know, and that's the same thing with communicating. So it's very important if you want to help, if you want to thrive, and you want a progressive relationship and partnership, it is paramount that you communicate. Because some people, all the time, I remember one divorce lawyer had asked them about, or a couple about, well, why are you guys divorcing? So, well, I loved him and she loved me, but you know, so why are you divorcing? We just can't communicate. You know, but you still love him. Yeah, I still love him. What's the problem?
Because communication is huge. If I can't come and talk to you, then I feel like I'm being shut out. What do you guys say about communication?
I think personally is that you have to kind of put God first in your life, in that relationship. And through communication, you talk about things. And separation, my wife only submits to me when I'm staying in line. And with God's choice, with the way God lived. And I don't think that she's going to stand for me to continue to live. She's not going to live with me in sin. Right. You know, and that can be sin of, I ain't going to say any sort, but continuous, not repenting and stopping.
And another part about communication is you can hear, but are you listening? You know, you can hear, but are you listening? Many times we're waiting to jump in like double dutch. We ain't really listening to you. I just want to get my statement in.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not benefiting
So
anyone.
true.
And how we communicate is very important. And sometimes you got to walk away from the topic because it's so intense, right? Look, I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna go outside and go for a walk or whatever. But right now won't be the best time for us to talk about this. The Bible says, "Be angry, but do not sin." However, if we get to the point where we get ready to do something sinful, name calling, choking out, whatever your thing is, right? Then we have to address that.
Yeah.
And I like what was said. Different families grow up in different dynamics, right? And so if your family's dynamic was shouting and screaming, guess what you're gonna do?
That's all you do.
That's all you know.
Yeah.
But this other person came from a very functional family, saw the parents sitting down, talking, loving, embracing, and all that. That's foreign to somebody who's used to hearing shouting and screaming and all that. So we have to learn our partners. I guess I would call them the love language, right?
Yeah.
How to address that person where they can feel safe, where they feel like their voices will be heard, and they'll feel like they're part of the union.
Yeah.
Not just just showing up, but you do have a voice in the union. So and communication has to be learned. All of us don't listen well at all times. I know I don't.
Not much.
I don't. I might hear you, but I might not be listening. Is what I'm saying. We're gonna keep it real, right? But there are times where I do need to listen, or even if it appears that I'm not listening at the moment, I'll go. If what you said to me is valid, I'll go off and think about it. But then I just don't think about it. I put it at the cross. Was she right, Lord? And if so, humble myself, get in there, and you know what? I was wrong.
Yes.
I was wrong. I'll
And
try to
that's
do
the
better
grown
next time.
folk part of
That's
it.
the grown folk part of it.
Yeah.
And that part hurts.
I think that what we are all in this room already have an understanding of, and what we want viewers who don't necessarily have that understanding to understand is that, one, you got to go through something.
Gotcha.
In marriage, you have to go, because
Oh my
we
God.
would not have any of this knowledge or wisdom if we had not gone through something and then came out on the other end of it in a better state.
Yes.
Right? So you go through things in marriage. You have to get skills. It takes skill to come out on the other side of that. And so as Christians, I think sometimes there is this preconceived or this presupposition that you can pray it away. What do you guys think about that? Is that true? Can you pray it away?
Well, faith without works is dead.
You gotta put some faith.
That's it right there.
You gotta put the work
You
in.
gotta put the work in.
So what does the work look like? The work can look
Sure.
like,
You can like counseling,
Reading books on,
doing some self-work.
introspection.
Meditating, get great. Just
Sure.
meditating with each other. How you say, fighting fair.
Sure, fighting. Ooh, that's
Fighting
good.
fair.
Fight fair.
that's a skill. That
That's
would
a
be a
skill,
tool.
exactly.
A skill, learn
Learn
skill.
more about that
Yeah.
as your
Yeah,
relationship
you will learn
grows.
about it.
So
Yeah.
as you grow and you get into yourself and realize that we're not always right.
Sure.
You know,
Right.
that we're human.
You're sure.
We're not perfect, and you have to realize that with your partner. You don't get to the wisdom if you don't fight for that marriage, but you have to fight fair.
Yeah, you got
You have to
it.
fight
Tell your
fair.
partner.
And that's another grown folk thing, you
Yeah.
know. You have to fight fair.
And you gotta tell your partner what you like and don't like. I know sometimes I tell my wife, hey, I don't like you talking to me like that. Now, if that's her norm, but it hurts me, and I don't bring it up, that's my fault. But now it's the ball's in her court. She has to decide if she wants to come up a little higher, humble herself, and speak to me in a different manner. If you want me to hear you,
That take a lot of humbling.
that's a lot of humbling.
I'm coming to you like,
Yeah.
I told you.
See?
And then you tell me I don't want you talking to me like that.
Yeah,
and
see?
then I have to go like, I told you.
If you have the relationship, if the end goal is for the relationship to get to a new level of health,
Yeah.
then we have to choke that stuff down.
Yeah.
And then
Each time you humble yourself, it'll get easier and easier.
it'll get easier,
Yeah.
right?
A lot of times it's the tone in which you come to a
It's the
person.
tone.
too.
Yes.
It is, that's one thing we actually discussed. I told him, he said, well, that's how I talk.
Mhm.
Okay, that's how you talk. However,
Sure.
the tone that you come to, if I come to you, you really need to do such and such. Well, instead of saying, okay, would you mind doing, I'm not asking like, you would a child, like a child will come to you and ask for something. Just say, sweetheart, do you mind doing such and such a thing? And that's that,
Sure.
okay.
Yeah, you
fine.
have to train people, for lack of a better word, how to treat you. It's like, okay, no, you can't talk to me like that.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like you're 2 years old,
Mhm.
Sure.
and like I said, it's not so much a demanding type of thing, just the overall tone of it,
And no sarcasm.
Right, not
Sarcasm
being
is a
sarcastic.
terrible thing for
Yes, it
communication.
is, not being sarcastic.
I used to be so, am I still?
Yeah.
What I would say is that you actually see growth in each other.
Yes. Yes.
Because there are
yes.
times where my wife would come to me
Sure.
in the past and come a certain way, and then the response would be a certain way.
Absolutely.
Then the next time she would come, I could see that she came in a whole different angle.
And your response.
Then the
is
response
different.
is different. So I'm saying, okay, there's growth there.
Sure.
Vice versa.
Yeah.
She'd come to be expecting a certain response.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden I flipped her one day.
Yeah.
She came to me one day. She said, "Oh, you didn't.
Right.
You're growing."
Well, I have
So
to
that's
say-
a process that
process.
you actually see each other
Growing.
because you took what you learned, went self inventory or evaluation.
Yeah.
You said, okay, the end result is I want this to move progressively
Sure.
into another direction, because every time I go this route or we come this way, there's a wall.
Sure.
And we always get to this spot.
This spot.
But we need to get beyond this spot.
Yes.
And so then you go a different route and you start seeing the growth in each other.
I've always said that in conflict, in communication or whatever, I want to be more in love than I want to be right.
Yeah.
So that'll make you stop and evaluate a whole lot of things. Do I really want to win this conversation? And if so, at what cost? I may have won the battle, but I lost the
You
war.
lost the war.
I lost the war.
And in defense for myself, I use that excuse with my wife,
Sure.
and I've really been trying to change that. I grew up in Detroit, and my tone of voice doesn't reflect the way I feel. And being a student, young, graduating, being with older people, my voice is that, and the way I present stuff is that with some aggressive, or not so much aggressiveness, but authoritarian type situations. And I had to be more advanced than my age at the time.
Sure.
And that has carried on throughout my life, and believe me, I've been trying.
And that's all
Don't
we
give
can
up.
do is try, right?
Yeah. You know, and I've asked God to help me
Sure,
on this.
sure.
I brought it up at our men's group, is that I don't mean to sound like demanding,
Sure.
but that's how I grew up. I had to demand respect.
Sure.
With my wife, I'm trying to soften my tone.
I think that's
And,
good.
And
I'm
all
trying
of
to
us,
soften that tone.
all of us, as the Bible says, we're new creatures in Christ, right?
Right, yes.
Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. And God allows us to go through conflicts to test us. So you can see measure your own growth. Whoa, boy, last year I would have said this, and this.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's for real. But you've learned that leads to nothing, right? And if we want God to temper us, to make us softer, make us kinder, make us more pliable and approachable, then we have to lay that before God. Because I can be very hard too. I can wreck the whole house. You know, silence for days.
Yeah.
But I've won nothing.
Not at
So
all.
I say I'm a man of God leading my household. I got to go back and look at me, right? It's easy to look at your spouse and look at all their faults. What about you?
Yeah.
You know, what about you? What about me? And if we're God-fearing men and we're hearing from God, God will point out for us.
Yes.
I know what she did, but this is what you need to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? You know, this is what you need to do. Because at the end of the day, we want harmony.
Yes.
We want growth. We want maturity. We want safety. We want to know that we're loved in spite of. Because sometimes when you in it, no Marcus or Queensberry rules. I'm gonna knock you out. I'm cutting you off at the knees. I'm going straight for the jugular. You know, and then the house is just
And
wrecked.
then I'm packing my
She
bag.
packing the bag, I'm packing the bag. We packing.
You got because I'm the kind of person, I'll get in there with you and at the front
See?
foot
Yeah.
right along with
She will.
you. So
She
we
is.
will literally tear the roof off the
Mr. and Mrs.
house.
Smith.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So let's turn the conversation. I know you, a few minutes ago, mentioned the word submission.
Mhm.
So let's talk about submission and what that is, right?
Mhm.
So I was watching a podcast and someone was talking about submission. And she said, it's funny that my husband wanted me to be submitted to him in the bedroom, but he did not want me to be submitted to him in the other rooms. Like the office where we do our bills, or
Sure.
the kitchen, or the living room. He only wanted me to be submissive to him in the bedroom, like do whatever I tell you to do. So,
Mhm.
what do y'all think about that comment?
I think
In the
that-
bedroom? Just in the
No,
bedroom?
just like submission. You know, we are supposed to be submitted one to another. Let me put that in there.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, we're
Right.
supposed to be submitted one to another,
Sure.
but her husband only wanted her to be submissive, she said, because in the other room, she was the one paying all the bills, she was the one doing all that. He wasn't real, you know what I
She
mean?
wasn't
Yeah.
contributing to the household needs.
Right.
That's
She
the
was
key
doing most
word
of the
is
cooking and the
key
cleaning.
words to
The
that
cooking,
yeah.
cleaning, the-
one to another. Because it takes, if it didn't take both of you to create and put together and master the household and master your kingdom,
Mhm.
right? Then the husband cannot do it alone, the wife cannot do it alone.
Exactly.
So there would be areas where the husband would submit to the wife, and there are areas where the wife would submit to the husband.
Mhm.
And it makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
It makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, because number one, she's not the only one messing up the dishes, dirtying up the laundry,
Mhm.
you know, leaving the sink undone. I mean, literally the house.
Sure.
She's not the only one doing that. Yet she has to come. If she's working outside the home, she has to come home. She has to clean the kitchen before she even can cook. No,
Yeah.
that's not acceptable.
Not at all.
It's not acceptable.
If y'all want to eat, somebody better come
Somebody come
clean
clean it. Exactly.
Don't I say that?
Well, I think, I'm sorry. You
No, and the thing is, a lot of men think, okay, well, I wash the dishes. Okay, I offer a choice. Would you like to wash the dishes or clean the kitchen? There's a difference.
Mhm.
There's a big difference.
Mhm.
A lot of men don't see it like that. They think if they wash the dishes, the kitchen is clean. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it depends on how traditional the marriage is, right?
Right.
So if the marriage is the husband says, hey, I'm the breadwinner, you stay home and you take care of my household
That's-
all day.
You guys got that?
You got that.
Yeah.
You got that, right?
Okay, sometimes again, if he's outside working, I mean, if he's working outside the home and you even occasionally assist him, he should also, when he comes home, assist you in what you're doing inside the home. There's a balance. There has to be a balance.
I don't know.
You know,
I don't know.
It all depends on your. Now, if you just got what 1 or 2 bedrooms, the living room, bed, just basic floor, one layout plan.
Sure.
You know, bottom line. Okay, fine, that's maintainable. But
Yeah.
when you got several people other than just you and him in the house,
Sure.
look around you. And the thing with me, I always say, well, what do you want me to do? If you just pick up what belongs to you in a place that it's not supposed to be, that's a great help right there. That's all. Don't worry about my stuff. I got mine.
Yeah.
Just pick up what belongs to you.
You know, if
You
we're
know it shouldn't be
looking, looking at traditional roles, I grew up in a very traditional household. But my mom also worked outside the home. They owned a number of businesses, but she was always doing her role as far as a wifely duties, right? And so to me, if I had a stay-home wife, there's certain demands I'm gonna have.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have
That's
them
just
without any pushback, you know. But if she's working outside the house and I'm working outside the house, you got to show her some grace. I don't demand that my wife cooks every day anymore. I ask her, but I know that's probably not gonna happen. I ask her to, you know, do certain things around the house, but I understand she works in the daytime too. So now it's different. And now how can I get in there and help her out? I do the bathroom sometimes. I do the bedroom sometimes. Would she like to see more of that? Sure, she would. However, I'm still adjusting to this new life, right? That the husband works and he also comes home and he helps the wife.
Yeah.
But if I was a stay-home dad, she should have expectations of me. You know, kids need to be cleaned up. Dinner need to be on the stove. I need to be looking sexy or something. Is what I'm saying. You know, so that she can feel, man, I can't wait to go to work. Because when I get home, I know my husband got me. He got the flowers in the bubble water. You know, it's bubbling and everything. Dinner's cooking. Wait.
He's talking about some bubbling water.
I ain't done. He got the Luther Vandross for the floor. You know, because I want her to feel. I want her to feel good about going to work, right? And so I think what's bad is you got a stay-at-home partner and you come home and that person hasn't done nothing. That's disrespectful. It's absolutely disrespectful. You've been home all day and ain't done nothing.
Some days I do that.
Yeah, we all do.
Well,
but you also work outside the house.
you work outside the house.
I was thinking about when I wasn't working
Sure.
and I was going to school.
Yep.
I quit my job so I could finish my master's. Calvin worked. But during that time, when you came home, I had the dinner was almost home cooked meal almost every day.
Mm.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And I've lived
We
both.
expect that.
I've been to stay
We
home,
Sure.
And I enjoyed it. So
and my house was never out of order.
Mm.
Never. Clean, spick and span all the
I
time.
grew up like
Home
that.
cooked meals all the time because I didn't have to work, and if I wanted to work, I could.
I miss
But
that
now,
season.
now I'm what they call the hybrid woman,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah.
work, I pay bills,
Sure.
you know, and I'm expected to take care of the house, and it's just like, I don't know about this, you know.
You know,
But this life I'm living is new to me. I'm like, okay, this is.
I think submitting, first we got to really redefine what that means in this day and time.
Yeah.
Because because I was raised the same way, you know, old enough to know that he would go to work, she would just, you know, but living in the day and time that you're living in now, first you have to really just sit down and then really ask each other, what is submitting mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
And what does submitting look like in this current environment?
Yeah.
Right.
And so, because you can sit up there and be like that man that my wife has stated earlier to springboard us into this conversation, you know, he might even be thinking I'm trying to think the traditional way, and she do this, blah, 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 but he's not willing to understand and take inventory of what's going on now in this current environment. When she worked, when she was going to school, you know, and if I would have held on to the traditional way of submitting, I would, girl, get out of that room while you doing that homework and go cook me some meal. You know,
Right.
I realized that, you know what, she's trying to move and help us move forward.
Sure.
So I'm going to go downstairs and learn to cook so I can keep these kids fed and so she can continue to do what she has to do.
Sure.
And so submitting evolves, you know, when you're dealing with that, and so you have to keep evolving with it. Now you don't want to get to the point where you redefine what submitting is to you that'll fit your narrative.
Sure.
So we have to make sure that, you know, submit is a different thing, and so we have to teach young men. They don't know how to submit.
Sure.
You know, in their submissions, I submit. I let her cook. I let her pay the bills. I let her drive my car. That ain't submitting.
That's submission. I think so too. That if you have kids and as the kids get older, learn how to delegate some of that responsibility. You know,
I think we're both good at that.
My mother did. That's how my
You
mother
should
did.
not be walking around
Yeah.
teenagers, young adults in your house still picking up after them. That's a problem. You live in this house. You need to be found. I'm gonna give you some responsibilities as part of this family, and these are the things that I think that need to be done. Right? So you can take the pressure off the wife and the husband who are working, and you can feel like you contributing to the family. But if you're letting your family lay up on you all day, that's y'all's fault.
I know.
That's not training them.
Yeah.
That's not training them
I
at
told
all.
my daughter, I see some cleaning in your future.
I
And there's some
told her
deep
today.
cleaning too.
Deep cleaning.
Well, when we talk about submitting, and when we go by what the Bible says, that if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, I
She
can't
ain't got to
impose her to do that.
That's right.
But when I say that, we all came from that age where I work outside the house.
Sure.
She works inside the house.
Sure.
And there's a separation when, you know, when you doing not only working outside the house, but you taking care of all the bills.
Sure.
You know, and you allow your spouse to do certain things with her part, you know.
Mhm.
And when you come inside the home
Mm-hmm.
and you sit down and you start feeling that thing just ain't working this way.
Sure.
You know, I'm doing all of this,
Sure.
but the wife wants you to clean up in the house.
Yeah.
I'm outside working guy.
I understand
Always
that.
You know, I work outside.
Uh-huh.
My wife now, when she worked, then I actually did more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but now that she's a home wife,
You
and this
expect
is from my past.
Mhm.
You know that I've grown up with. I'm working outside. You gotta do this inside.
Sure.
She
Yeah.
got to do it.
She got
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
I think
no,
that's the
no,
word.
no, no. See, that's the problem. I'm working on that.
That's that word.
I'm
right
working
there.
on that. I'm working on that. And
We
that's
all
what
are.
we talk. That's where when submission, you don't have to submit to that.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to submit to that. You know, but we feel that in here.
Sure.
And we have to take that to God sometimes. Look, that hey, I need to change this, Pastor. See, I need to kind of flow with the things the way they are now. Back then, our parents did. You know, they did more.
Sure.
They do, but the new generation, this age, even with us, the woman is entitled to not have to submit if we not coming correct,
Sure.
and that's sometimes a problem for us. For men,
Yes.
it is. I mean, for men,
And I think it's-
we have a problem.
As
with
real
that.
men, I think we have to, at least for me, I've got to learn a better approach.
Of course,
It's
yeah,
not
that's-
what I'm saying, it's how I'm
I
saying
see.
it.
How you
That's
say
right.
it.
And when I say it, I mean it with authority. However, is this helping anybody? You understand what I'm saying? And so I gotta learn how to do better. I don't know if I've gotten better at that, but that's an area of my life that I need to work on. Because if I'm upset, she gonna feel that. If she's upset, I'm gonna feel that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then
The whole house goes.
the whole
down.
house
The
is
whole
gonna
house
feel
is
it,
in it.
right?
Mhm.
And then we have to learn how not to. Everything don't need to be resolved in one conversation.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to take a break and come back.
Yeah.
You know, so don't follow the person around the house so you can get your last word.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Let that
Talk
person.
about you now.
Yeah.
Not talking
Let that person go have their space.
Yeah.
I always tell my wife, if I'm upset, read the room.
Uh-huh.
Read the
Yeah.
room. You know what I'm saying? This probably ain't the best time to talk to me to get the type of response you want because I'm not feeling it at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
But that's genuine.
But I'm the kind of let's get things right now. Let's
That'll
'cause I-
always
yeah.
work.
You know,
That'll
that,
always
but that's just how my mind
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
Like I am a get it done taskmaster. What got to be done right now? And
See, she ain't heard a word I said.
I heard what you said. I was just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all enjoy this conversation?
Yeah.
Y'all enjoy this grown folk conversation?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to our last topic.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
And you know, Hebrews 13:4 says, marriage is honorable among all,
Yeah.
and the bed undefiled.
Mm.
But whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. So let's talk about this thing about the bed is undefiled.
Mhm.
What does that mean to you? We'll start with you guys.
So that means that you aren't bringing in spirits of demon spirits into your home,
Mhm.
into your bedroom. That you keep it, you keep it undefiled.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that you don't bring bad thoughts. You don't bring some of the things of the world into your bedroom. It's to be honored between you and your wife, you and your spouse only.
Mm-hmm.
That's for only you and her.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I was reading some of Song of Solomon,
Mm-hmm.
and it actually goes into the way it's read. You can tell that's a very sexual chapter in the in the Bible. I mean, book in the Bible, and it's the way it's put is really precious. It's sensual. It's a romantic thing, and it's not looking at it like it's nasty, dirty. You know, whatever you do in your bedroom, as long as it's between the husband and the wife, it's okay. You know, because God put you together,
Mhm.
and He wants you to be happy. Sex is actually a very healthy part of a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is, and to keep it godly, like I said, just keep a third party, keep the porn, whatever it is, out of your bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that way you're concentrating on that partner,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and if it's a lifelong partner, as long as you're husband and wife, that's what God wants.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's exactly what, how I feel
You
about
said
it.
that beautifully. Yeah.
As I thought about this topic, we're talking about honor in the bedroom. Can two homosexuals marry by law? Is the bed now defiled?
The bed is
The
defined.
bed
If
is
two-
defiled.
If two lesbian women
It's
get
defiled.
married, is the bedroom, is it honorable? We said marriage makes the bedroom honorable.
It is defined.
But we live in a society where they're saying these types of relationships are all right. But God said, let the man leave his mother and father and cling unto him a wife. Not two men getting married, not two women getting married. And then I also thought about, well, what if you got a married couple who are in agreement, but they swingers? You understand what I'm saying?
It's defiled.
Right. I just want to hear y'all's input on that because we're living in that society, right? Let's have an orgy. Let's get the neighbors to come on and get involved and all that. The bed is honorable as long as it's honored in the way in which God set it up.
That's correct.
One heterosexual relationship, one man, one woman. Everything else is off limits, right?
Right.
And then also, depending on what you like to do in the bedroom, you don't want to do something that the other party doesn't want to do.
Right.
Don't make them do something that makes them uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? You might like to be swung off the wall or whatever, but that's not what's happening anymore. If that other person feels degraded, there's no honor in
There's
it.
no honor in
There's no honor in it. Right?
The other vow says love and to cherish.
Love
So
and
if
cherish.
you love and cherish me,
Mhm.
you're not going to want to put something on me that makes me uncomfortable.
Right.
Because I know
Right.
sometimes there's men or women might want to do something that the other partner may not want to do, like
Right.
he was just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, the bed becomes defiled when
Right.
a woman is being forced, or the man for
Being
that
forced.
matter, is
Being
being
forced
forced
to
to
do
do
That's
something.
between a husband and a wife.
Right.
If you can defile
If we
your own
agree to
bed.
do it,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
one
it
thing.
has to be consensual between the two of you.
Sure.
To be
But
honest.
I think also you have to be willing to hear your partner's, wishes and, what
Right.
they desire.
Right.
Mhm.
So if she's saying, hey, I need you to romance me more, you don't
Mhm.
just come and just expect,
Right.
Or foreplay, like let's not just go into and do wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
Right.
But let's do
That's
some
foreplay,
foreplay that'll
some
lead you
romance.
into it.
What's the foreplay
And then
look
you
like?
say, well, you
It
want
can
me
be
to
different for each
What's
couple.
the, I'm throwing it out there.
It can be different for each couple.
Because I think foreplay doesn't start in the bedroom. I'm
Yeah,
sending
it
you
can
text
start.
messages on the job. I'm sending you flowers. I'm having little conversations with you.
There you
For a woman, it starts here
That's good.
and here, right? By the time you get home, there's little work you got to do,
Yeah.
right? So
Well,
I,
it depends on the
Depends.
situation. Sometimes when you walk through the door, you can just grab them, throw them down, let's do it.
is that right?
Yeah. And then there's other times where you want to just take your time.
Right, you wanna
let's
be
make
romantic.
this sweet and nice. So it all depends.
And I think since we're talking about this too, I think we have to understand that as we get older, sex changes.
It does.
And
Sure.
it changes.
Yeah.
I know I'm not 20 years old anymore. I'm 61. Don't expect me to do 20-year-old stuff. You understand what I'm saying? And so how do you?
Why not?
Well, that imbalance that goes on between the man and the woman's sexual drive is
It is.
completely
It changes.
opposite.
Absolutely.
It is.
Completely
Women
opposite.
become
the man
sexually-
goes down and the
Women
woman
goes
goes
up.
up.
As we get older.
Yeah. And so you say don't expect
Well-
me to do 20-year-old stuff,
Sure.
but then what do you want me to do when I'm feeling like a 20-year-old?
If there's a little saying, there's a
I
little saying that goes, it takes me all night to do what I used to do all night.
yeah.
So they make a little something for that. I might need you to have.
Well, you know what? I make love to my I make love to my wife 24 hours, 10 seconds at a time.
I just say it because
I wouldn't say
it might
that out
be snow, but it's fire in the valley.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to be honest. Even at 70,
Yeah.
we still have fun.
Yeah.
We still have fun.
And that's what
It's not as frequent as when you
It's not
first
as
met.
frequent, but some we have our days.
Sure. Yeah.
And between me and my wife, we kind of set that up,
Sure.
and we walk through it,
Mhm.
and we try to be happy, and I
Sure.
try to do only with her what I'm supposed to
What
do.
you supposed to be doing? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we know each other, and we
Sure.
know where it takes to get there.
Sure.
And we
So
don't
when you
we
hear
don't
that
get
Barry White
we don't
going
get
on,
selfish. Put like that. As you get older, you gotta let that selfishness go.
Go.
You know, you gotta let that selfishness go and work at it.
And work at it. Yeah,
And
you gotta work at it.
be understanding.
Sure, be understanding. Both parties.
Be
Both
understanding.
parties.
Be
Both
understanding.
parties.
Yeah.
I can't do what I did when I was 20, but I do all right what I can do at 70.
Yeah.
So,
I stay, wait, I stay,
that's an interesting
I
concept.
stay on my lane.
Because the man,
Yeah.
you know, kind of winds down as he gets older,
Uh-huh.
right? And so, what is that? Why did God do it that
I
way?
don't know.
You know, why did He create us that way? Is it because when the man is 20 years old, it's more wham bam, yeah, bam, let me get on over here and get this girl, and then when you get older, you have a wife, and now you have to like really understand the woman.
Mm-hmm.
Versus when you're young, you don't really have to.
No.
Sure.
You know, it's just you don't even gotta care what she's thinking, how she feel.
Her name.
No, seriously. You
Yeah,
just, but
yeah.
when you become an older man,
Mhm.
it's a way of actually forcing the man to actually understand the woman, understand her.
Well, the
why.
Bible says a man needs to
Understand.
study his wife.
Yeah, understand.
But that works
why,
both
how
ways.
she
That works
works.
both ways. That works both ways. Women don't get out. You're not off the hook.
Well, the Bible says a man needs to study his wife.
I
It didn't say it
understand. I
word
understand
for
what the
word.
Bible says.
I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
Yeah, I think it's necessary for both parties to learn and to realize you're both aging.
Yeah.
You know, she done had 3 or 4 babies. She ain't no 36, 24, 36. Now she's a 44, 44, 44.
Okay.
No, come on.
But you still gotta love them. Them was your babies.
They
she
were
had.
your babies,
Them was
that's
your
right.
babies. Now you just get in there and you work with what you got left over. Again, I think as we get older, because sex winds down for a man, now we're open to learn more about you, right?
Mhm.
I'm gonna be a better listener. I'm gonna take you on different types of adventures or whatever that looks like, so that we keep a credit score up. Because
So all of that.
All the things that are appealing to women, they really
So all of
good
those.
fighting score now works.
So all of that is supposed to take the place of dropping it like it's hot.
You gotta have a time frame. You gotta have a time frame. Look, you can get the best of me in this first 5 minutes, or I can take my time and you get the best of me in these 10 minutes, whatever. I'm just saying. So we have to figure out what it is you like now, and then be willing to say, okay, that's acceptable. I'm gonna do my best to try to do more of that.
Yeah.
But don't be so selfish. Going, that's all. That's all you got. You finished. You know.
Well, those are all.
Those
things,
are real things.
But I think those are all things that a younger woman would probably
Would do, yeah.
I-
Would think.
Yeah.
Would think,
Yeah.
would
You'd be
think, but-
surprised. Those
But you
women-
think about, but if you really
I
look
mean,
at,
yeah.
when you look at the reality of it is, now that's what your wife would say,
Sure.
you know, and that's probably how you feel.
Uh-huh.
You would say that, but in a guy's mind, he's thinking she's gonna say the opposite. So now he's not just dealing with the ability or the lack of ability to do as he did when he was 30.
Sure.
He's starting to deal with the fact that his body is changing.
It's changing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
and I don't care what you say. Any man, if you say that you battle that.
You battle.
You battle with that.
Because you got that pressure coming into the bedroom.
And so now you have to realize, okay, now my body's changing. Even though I understand, my wife understands, but at the same time, there's something in the back of your mind is like, but you're not the same guy you was. But in your mind, the machoism of you, I got to be that man again,
Conqueror. Yeah.
and you can't be that man again. So that goes right back to the hard conversations.
Sure.
Look, this is where I'm at now.
Sure.
You know, you see what, like you guys both stated, Sister Liggins and my wife. You see you going,
Yeah, we going.
and we're looking at ourselves going, and so now we got to figure out how. Yeah, so now we got to figure out how to meet
Yeah, somewhere.
somewhere
Sure.
where it'll be pleasing to both of us.
Yes.
You know, like Pastor Liggins has stated, I mean, yes, at the same time, we have to learn. It has slowed us down enough that okay, now we actually can enjoy the situation
The rest of you,
and
yeah.
look at it in a whole different way.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, we have to also, as my wife has stated a few minutes ago, we still got to be able to please her because
Yeah.
and so we have to find that medium, that happy medium, to make that happen.
Yeah, because God, he designed marriage to be fruitful,
Pleasure,
multiply.
yeah.
You know, and as we do get older, that part of our life, it goes away,
Sure.
really. And so we have to learn past that we have to, like you said, we had a time then
Sure.
to enjoy one another
Sure.
without the fact, and knowing that we're not going to be able to continue that part of what
Sure.
God's plan, but he allowed us the time to grow
Sure.
and mature and to stay a couple.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
minus the fact that kids may not be coming, but we let our kids see the way that we are.
Sure.
That's what I look forward to. My kids know we've been married over 40 years.
Sure.
Hopefully that has incited them to at least know
It's
we
possible.
can do that.
You said stay a couple. So we're going to end the broadcast with this question to each couple.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to start with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
How do you maintain a friendship with each other?
Laughter.
Mm-hmm.
We laugh a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
You know, respecting each other enough to listen to each other. Try to do more things together. Yeah, that's about it. Honesty.
Oh,
Honesty. I'm still
being
going.
honest.
Being honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you two maintain a friendship with each other?
I would say I try to treat her as I want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I try to play fair.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't try to say stuff to her that I wouldn't want her to say to me. But I try to I respect her,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to be respected.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with me, when I say whenever I go shopping or something like that, I know the candy bar he like, I know what kind of snacks he likes. I always, you know, get all his snacks and surprise him with them. I do it, and I'll put them in his drawer, or put them on the bed or something like that. You know, and I mean just little things like that. You know, and I let him see I was thinking about you. You know, just little things like that. And I'll make like when I cook, I literally have to make 2 different meals. I don't eat pork. So, and I know he likes pork chops. I'll fry him up pork chops and leave them, you know, something like that. And I always say, give me a salad and I'm good,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But I always make him. He likes the spaghetti. He likes the stewed meat potatoes, and I don't eat a lot of that stuff. I'm not a gravy person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just things like that. But I always go out of my way to when I do cook, they come first, you know. He's always appreciative of it. So.
So, babe, how do we maintain our friendship?
I think just being intentional when we're together and trying to make sure that we're together, always communicating, you know, always spending time together, being conscious of each other, those things that you had stated, you know. If you're somewhere, you always think about, hey, call, hey, I'm over here, do you want this, you know, and trying to keep that friendship, always keeping that friendship, you know, because, and always remember just being conscious of that,
Right.
not alienating each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to thank our guests for joining us in this grown folk conversation.
Well, I wanted to say, how do you see your relationship?
Well, we talked about this the other night in preparing for it, and I think the thing that I remember saying is I like when we go walk together, because when we go walking, we just talking about it. We're talking about any and everything. We're talking about how our day went. We're talking about the kids. We're talking about Krishna. No, I'm just playing. We're discussing deep things
Sure.
sometimes. We just walk and we say, what are we going to do about this? How are we going to, you know? And so just our walks is a way that we just stay friends and connected, right?
Yes.
And so, anything else?
No, that's it.
I think, give all y'all hands. You know, this is so good. We may have to have a grown folk conversation part 2.
Yeah.
With some more conversation. So put in our comment section other topics that you guys might want to hear. And until then, we want to thank you for joining us on another episode of The Soul of the Matter. And remember to like,
Subscribe.
and comment and share. Yeah.
Like,
comment, and
share. Oh, and subscribe. Okay, sorry.
Share it.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Okay.